Sailor Jerry Spiced Rum, 92 proof, bold and smooth as hell.
Doc Rivers is a man of principle. Doc Rivers is a guy that certainly doesn't need the job, because the second he left, there would be a multitude of opportunities on his doorstep for him to coach somewhere else. And so that definitely is plausible. Not to mention the fact that, again, Dick Parsons is highly respected and accomplished. And even though the court itself, basically labeled his thoughts, his opinion, I'm going to go with Dick Parsons, because according to Dick Parsons, Doc Rivers told him that's what he would be inclined to do. Now, I do understand that the judge, after Donald Sterling's lawyers stood up and tried to have it classified as opinion, the judge leaned towards that, classified it as an opinion, and left it at that. But I don't see them labeling it as an opinion when Dick Parsons alluded to most of the 20 or so sponsors that the Clippers have, saying that they would be inclined to work with the team again and to sponsor the team only in the event that Donald Sterling is gone, citing Mandalay Bay and Kia Motors and all of that stuff. I mean, listen, that wasn't an opinion. He was told by those folks they would back out if Donald Sterling was still around, and that wasn't labeled an opinion. So I don't understand why him reiterating what Doc Rivers said would be classified as an opinion. With that being said, I know Doc Rivers. I've known Doc Rivers for all my years of covering the NBA. He's not only a fantastic coach, but he's a great man, a great human being, exceptionally well accomplished, and adored and loved by his players. Chris Paul, Jamal Crawford, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, the list goes on and on and on. These guys don't just call him a head coach. They view him as a father figure in their lives. And this is despite the fact that Chris Paul has a fantastic father and always raves about how that guy is his idol. Still doesn't stop him from praising Doc Rivers and the impact that he has with these guys. And so Dick Parsons was absolutely right to bring Doc Rivers up, because Doc Rivers is that kind of dude, Skip. Again, I'm not saying it's definitive, but the notion that Doc Rivers would leave if Donald Sterling were to remain the owner is not something that should be easily dismissed. It is entirely possible that he would elect to do that, because that's in Doc Rivers' makeup.
I hear you, and I agree with that position on Doc. That's if it came to be that Donald Sterling from here on would continue to own the Clippers. However,
correct,
I do think it's possible that if somehow Donald Sterling manages to stall and file more lawsuits and stall the inevitable, that he will finally be forced out.
Right.
If Doc is made to believe, just hang in and hang on, eventually we will be rid of this man, that even if next season starts, game one is played, I don't think Doc would walk away from that job and that team. Because it's a great job in a great place with a very good, I'm not going to go great team, but I'll go very good team, a team that's on the verge. So to me, this is difficult to talk about because I did not go to law school. I've never been a lawyer, though I have often played one on TV because we have to talk about this stuff day after day after day. I study it. I read about it. All I know for sure from all I read last night is that this judge in this trial does have the power to rule in such a way that no matter how many more lawsuits Donald Sterling wants to file, that he will be removed as the owner. That's all I know. The closing arguments are to be heard, next Monday, I believe. So sooner than later, we could get a decision in this case that is about his competency to own and operate this team. Well, so I don't know what's going to happen here, but my gut is, because it was obviously Adam Silver's gut feeling when he made his big speech, remember, on April 29th, banning for life Donald Sterling. Obviously, Adam Silver's NBA attorneys had said, we will oust him. It may take a while, but we will remove him from ownership.
Well, keep in mind that Doc Rivers, you're absolutely right. Doc Rivers is not the kind of individual that, will give up a great gig because the court system is a bit elongated, and you know it's one of those situations where it's just stretched out, and that's not Doc Rivers. What Dick Parsons was alluding to is that if they were to lose this case, and the courts were to say Donald Sterling is still the owner of this team, and he can keep the team or elect to sell the team, he can do what he wants because he owns the team. If that were to happen, those are the premises under which Doc Rivers would possibly elect to leave and go work elsewhere. But if the courts just drag their feet and it's just stretched out and the process is just ongoing, that's not going to be enough for Doc Rivers to sit there and say, I'm going to leave these guys with this team that I built. Remember, he ain't just a coach. He's the dude in control of basketball operations. They got Spencer Hawes now to spell for DeAndre Jordan and/or Blake Griffin. You still got Crawford. You've got CP3. You've got a crew of dudes. You've got a damn good basketball team that can compete for the NBA championship. And they all love living in L.A.
Obviously.
They can't get enough of it, especially Chris Paul.
Okay. So I want to be very clear about my next statement. I believe that Donald Sterling has demonstrated many times in his business career that he is racist. But I'm intrigued by what his lawyer said yesterday after they filed their latest lawsuit seeking damages from the NBA. The lawyer, and I'm just going to paraphrase so I don't get into too much legal stuff, but in effect he was saying you can't take away somebody's ability to own a basketball team or any business over what that somebody said in his living room in private. That's the crux of this legal argument here that I'm very intrigued about. Again, is he racist? Yes. That's not the issue to me. But legally, can then you take away his billion-dollar basketball team, $2 billion basketball team, on the grounds of what he said in private to her?